We're re-adjourning. We started here at 5 o'clock, and then we go into closed session. So we're coming out of closed session right now, and all actions that we take in closed session are reported out. And we're going to have our clerk's going to do a little readout of one of the actions we took. Just a little bit of housekeeping because we have kind of a full house. The exits are in the back of the room. There's one here on the side, and you can also go through the corridor that most of you probably came in through. And if you need in the middle of the meeting to get up and use restroom facilities or something, take a phone call, you can go right out into the lobby area, and the restrooms are located right across the way. So if you would, Mr. Rogi, if you'd read out any action we took.
Sure. We did have action in closed session. In closed session, the board voted 5-0 to non-reelect certified probationary employees A through D and directed the superintendent or her designee to provide notice to the employees. That's what we have. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Rogi. If you look at the boards, the projectors, that's our agenda. Some of you may have picked up a copy on the way in, and I'll kind of let you know where we're at on it if you're trying to follow along. We're going to section 3, D as in David. This is the meeting procedures. Again, this is the regular meeting of the Board of Education for the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District, and our primary focus here is on the education of students within this district. During the meeting, you, our members of the public, will have the opportunity to share information and voice your ideas, concerns relative to matters within the jurisdiction of this public agency. During our discussion of each agenda item, there'll be a time for you to have the opportunity to speak to that item. If the topic is not on the agenda that you'd like to speak to, we ask that you would and encourage you to please fill out a tan speaker card. They're on the table in the lobby. Now, if you wish to address a topic that is on the agenda, just please fill out one of the light blue cards. Either of the cards, just hand them in to one of the young ladies up there in your front left, and they'll work them away. And we'll call you up in no particular order to speak on the item when it comes up. I'll call your name and come up, and just please let us know your name when you come up to the microphone. And if you look to your right, there's a little clock in front of Deputy Superintendent Van Schack. It comes on at 3 minutes. And we ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes. And that's just in an effort to keep the meeting moving forward and keep us all orderly and as kind of just being polite to one another. So if you get to around the 2:30 mark, and I know sometimes the topic might be passionate or something, I'm not looking to be rude, but I might cut you off or at least just kind of point over towards the clock, just to let you know you've got about 30 seconds to try to wrap up. Again, these meetings are televised. They're on Channel 28, Wednesdays in the evening at 7 p.m. and Saturdays in the morning at 9 o'clock in the morning. And with all that being said, I'd ask our Superintendent, Dr. Kelly Bowers, if there's any changes to our agenda.
Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, there is one minor change to the agenda to share. We received one piece of correspondence to the board formally after the agenda was published, but prior to 4 p.m. the day before the meeting. So per policy, that will be summarized by our clerk, and a copy is at your table.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to go into our recognitions. And this is just an opportunity that we have to recognize mostly students and sometimes adults, members of the public, that have an impact on the school district. So tonight, I believe we have a couple. So I'd ask our superintendent if you'd introduce our first.
Of course, it's my absolute pleasure to invite Mrs. Philomena Rambo to come forward. She is our Director of Community Engagement. We see her coming forward? Okay, and she will be coming forward to honor some of our incredibly talented and intellectually capable students who are the winners of our district-wide spelling bee. Quite an accomplishment, and I can almost guarantee that the students who are being awarded awards tonight, who are from the younger grades, will one day be the students at our graduations that will be wearing medal after medal after medal. It's usually a really good sign of academic promise and accomplishment, so we're very excited about this. I guess if we could spell proud, it'd be P-R-O-U-D. We're so proud of the students tonight.
Absolutely.
So what I would ask, I know there's probably a lot of proud parents here that have their kids here. It's not as good a picture to take the backside of everyone. So after Mrs. Rambo calls all the kids up, you're welcome, parents want to take a picture, to come up behind us, and you'll get a nice perspective picture of the audience, and you can get your kids from the front side. And then the kids, when you come up afterwards, I'll have you kind of form a thing for a picture, and I'm going to have you all come right up around the front here of the podium here. And you guys are all going to form up kind of like a volleyball team real quick. Tallest people in the back, everyone else towards the front. come together real close. Everyone look forward, and we have a photographer that's going to take a nice big group picture of everyone.
See, there's rules for the spelling bee and rules for the recognition. So anyway, well, thank you, Dr. Bowers and President Bueno. I'm very excited to be here this evening. I did have the role of our district spell master, so I have met all of these outstanding spellers before, and I can tell you that the feeling in the room this evening is a little bit more relaxed because now they know that it's all over with. These are amazing spellers. They are the top spellers throughout our district. They were the winners at their school sites, and they came together at the district on 2 different occasions to spell as much as well as they could. I know that several of you were able to join the audience at the 4th through 6th grade spelling bee, which was held here in this room on February 6th. If you were here, you will recall, I believe, sitting in anxious silence as we waited for the next word to be spelled. And for the first time in recent memory, certainly in my memory, my history as the spell master, all 33 spellers went through the first 2 rounds without missing a word. That's really unusual. And even as some began to be eliminated, the spirits were still high. There was a lot of support. And we were very excited that at the end of 14 hard-fought rounds, which is quite a few, Luke Bailey from Joe Mitchell K-8 took first place, and Ashley Lane from Smith Elementary took second place. The winning word for that grade group was deciduous. And then the 7th and 8th grade spelling bee, which was on February 13th, Roya Rashichi of Christensen Middle School won on the word lieutenant. How many vowels do you have in that word? And taking second place was Austin Antony from Mendenhall Middle School. So as Dr. Bowers has just indicated, these students who are good spellers are also avid readers. They have great memories, and they're the ones we are going to be seeing walking across the stage at graduation with cords of honor around their necks, because this is an indicator of their success in our schools. So let's take a moment to meet these outstanding students, and what I'm going to ask you to do, all of our spellers, if you could come up and stand behind me, I'm going to hold on to the microphone and invite them to, as they did at the spelling bee, say their name, their grade, and their school.
And to give you an idea just of how monumental the achievement is, the students you'll see tonight are representing almost 7,000 students. That's the accomplishment you're seeing. So whether they were first or 30th in that group, they're actually first through 30th of almost 7,000 students. Those are the grade levels. So can we just give them a huge round of applause for that? It's pretty phenomenal.
They will also be representing our district at the county spelling bee. So why don't you spellers come on up and just, you can stand here. Fritz, right? Just looks good. You can stand right here. Why don't you be the first one?
Now, if any parents want to come up and take a picture while this is happening, please feel free to come up and stand behind us. It's a much better picture.
Okay, hopefully I'll get you all, so go ahead and tell us your name.
Around this way, just to your right, go all the way around, and you can stand behind us.
They can pose again, too.
Yeah.
So your name, your grade, and your school, okay?
So, hi, I'm Fritz. I'm in 5th grade, obviously, and I'm from Jackson Avenue.
My name is Saisha. I'm in 4th grade and I'm from Leo Arcroci Elementary.
My name is Itziana. I'm in 5th grade and I'm from Maryland.
My name is Roya. I'm in 8th grade and I'm from Christensen Middle School.
My name is Jasmine. I am also in 8th grade from Christensen Middle School.
My name is Nor and I'm from Sunset Elementary. I'm in 5th grade.
My name is Kalyan and I'm in 8th grade at Christensen Middle School.
My name is Amber. I'm in 7th grade and I go to East Avenue Middle School.
My name is Jesse and I am in the 5th grade at Maryland Avenue Elementary.
Hello, my name is Shirish Param Krishna and I'm in 6th grade in East Avenue.
My name is Lily. I'm in 4th grade and I'm from Arroyo Seco.
My name is Ashley and I'm in 5th grade and I go to Smith.
My name is Alexos. I'm in 5th grade and I go to Jackson Avenue Elementary School.
My name is Jared. I'm in 7th grade at Christensen Middle School.
My name is Amanda and I'm in 8th grade at East Avenue Middle School. Hi, I'm Sunny, and I'm in 7th grade from Junction Avenue Middle School.
Hi, my name's Anshika. I'm a 6th grader at Mendenhall Middle School.
My name is Brandon. I'm in 5th grade at Rancho Las Positas Elementary School.
My name's Avanish. I'm in 4th grade in Rancho Las Positas.
I'm Ava, and I'm in 5th grade at Lawrence Elementary. My name is Jocelyn. I'm in 6th grade, and I go to East Avenue Middle School.
My name is Adrian. I'm in 5th grade, and I go to Arroyo Seco.
My name is Luke Bailey. I go to Joe Mitchell, and I'm in 5th grade.
My name is Austin Antony. I'm in 8th grade, and I'm at Mendenhall Middle School.
I'd also like to invite up Marnie Angelo. She is the coordinator of our district spelling bee, and she will join the students as they shake your hands.
All right, so kids, what we're going to have you do is you guys are going to come through here, and you're going to come around. We just want to shake your hands and congratulate you. And as soon as the first person's done shaking everyone's hand, we're going to come back right here in the middle, and you guys are going to form up and all face your parents in the audience, and we're going to take a nice group picture. Nice job. Congratulations.
Did you enjoy it?
Nice job. Nice job.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Did you enjoy yourself?
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
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 Nice job.
Did you enjoy it?
Congratulations.
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 Good job. Way to go.
Nice job. Nice job, Nick. Good job.
Congratulations.
Hey, like Mendenhall.
Did you enjoy yourself? Congratulations. Congratulations.
Good job.
Good job.
Nice job.
Awesome job.
Nice job.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You spell congratulations.
Congrats. Congrats.
Congratulations.
Nicely done.
Great job. Did you enjoy yourself?
Thank you very much.
Good
All right,
job.
tallest one's right here, all the way in the back, all the way against the wood. If you're the tallest, like the tallest 6 people stand in the back, everyone else stand in front of them. We're all going to face our parents in the audience. Yeah, shoulder to shoulder. Perfect. Beautiful.
I start stealing yours again.
All right, one for me right here. 1, 2, 3.
Everyone look at the white camera up on the ceiling.
And one more right here. 1, 2, 3.
Is that the only camera anymore? Nope.
All right, we're all good? Hey. Nice job, kids. All righty.
And for our next recognition, we'll re-invite Mrs. Denise Nathanson forward. She is a very proud principal of Maryland Avenue Elementary School, and she will be joining us in honoring some very hardworking staff members who do some incredible things for our students.
Good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. I'm Denise Nathanson, principal of Maryland Avenue Elementary School. It is with great pride that I introduce the coaches of our Maryland Avenue Mudrunners. From the girls team, and unfortunately not all of them could be here tonight, but we have present first Jennifer Pennybacker and Holly Barker, along with Ann Rosenden, Caitlin Garger, Kat Arthur, Carly Meglio, Candace Bowler, Gina Juarez, Michelle Bennett, and Roxy Hernandez. And from our boys team, we have Eric Kishi, Ron Tanakawa, and Jorge De Paz. What, may you ask, is a mud runner? Well, the story began last year when our 4th and 5th grade girls participated in the Girls on the Run program, which focused on building self-esteem, in which our girls were sponsored by Axis. This was a wonderful program that accumulated in a 5K run in San Francisco. It was very exhausting, but lots of fun. This year, we were not able to obtain a sponsor, and we were looking for something a little closer to home that would also include our boys. And we wanted our families to be able to attend. San Francisco was a little far for our families to attend. The team behind me put their heads together to research curriculum and running events that were local that we could participate in. Within a few short weeks, they had put together a curriculum, training program, made a presentation to the 5th grade parents, found a venue, created logo, ordered shirts. The two teams meet twice a week on Mondays and Fridays after school for about 90 minutes, where they focus on self-esteem curriculum and train for the Mud Factor Mud Obstacle Run, which will be held in Livermore on April 20th. We have 29 boys and girls, all 5th graders, that will be participating in this. So those are our mud runners. This group saw a need, put their heads together to find a solution to help our students grow and thrive. I am so proud of their determination and their dedication to our students. Please join me in recognizing the Maryland Avenue Mud Runner coaches.
All of you are signing up. There's some spots.
Can we be mud walkers? Mud joggers?
Oh, that's true. That's a good idea. Yeah, I don't want
I'll just say that.
Actually, Disneyland's a bigger deal.
And our pledge students wore the mud runners.
Yes, we do.
Nice job.
Good job, thank you.
I will not be running in the mud. I'm not going to do it.
I four-wheel, but I don't run. Thank
Sounds
you,
like
bud.
fun.
Great job. Thank you for doing all that.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to sign up in June.
There you go.
Sounds like fun.
The motorcycles, yeah.
Good to see you.
Okay.
Mud run. We have a board meeting that night? All right, so we're going to move into our student board member reports. And this is a time when each of our 2 comprehensive high schools has a student rep that comes in. They give us updates on what's going on at the high school, talks about activities, things that are coming up, things that might have happened, things that they might want to acknowledge at their high school. So tonight, unfortunately, both of them were unable to make it. This is the first time I've seen that. So at Granada High School, Riley Mora has been nice enough to come in for Avery Peralt, and she's going to do the update for Granada High School. Hi, Riley.
Good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. My name is Riley Mora, and as Bueno said, I will be filling in for Avery Peralt. As the second trimester comes to a close this week, Granada students and faculty are amidst the high-stress season of finals. Fortunately, after finals this Thursday, March 7th, students will get to enjoy a 3-day weekend with the absence of pending assignments or upcoming tests. The second trimester was an active and inspiring time for the Granada community, as a wide range of students worked diligently on a variety of initiatives and celebrated the triumphs of those achieved. Wednesday, February 20th, Granada celebrated a groundbreaking ceremony for the new athletic complex. The Granada community is thrilled to witness the progress of the athletic complex, as athletics are such an integral part of fostering spirit and unity amongst students. Wednesday, February 27th, Granada students had the opportunity to attend the CTE Career Fair and speak with representatives from local businesses such as Wente, Zone 7 Water, LARPD, and the Alameda County Sheriff's Department. Today, the VPA department hosted an art fair, which featured a wide range of student works from paintings to ceramics to short films, all created during trimester 2. On March 8th, the global community celebrates International Women's Day. To honor this day of recognition, the Human Rights Club at Granada has created an online poll where students can vote for a teacher, which has inspired them to empower women. The top 3 most voted teachers will receive a gift sponsored by the Human Rights Club. Friday morning, Granada is hosting an affordable practice SAT and ACT, which is hugely beneficial as college acceptance is becoming increasingly more competitive. Spring sports are now in full effect. For example, Granada Track has already participated in 2 meets, and Granada Swim is approaching their first meet in just 2 weeks. Trimester 3 holds many exciting end-of-year events. Indeed, there are just 13 weeks left of this school year. Upperclassmen are hard at work planning for the upcoming junior prom and senior ball. The Granada student body as a whole has begun planning the Expo. The Expo displays the extracurriculars at Granada and is designed to encourage incoming freshmen to get involved in extracurriculars and invest their time into a wholesome educational experience, which is not exclusively academic. Granada is ultimately in high spirits as the beginning of a new trimester always seems to bring a sense of accomplishment and a fresh start as students receive new class schedules. Thank you.
Thanks, Riley, like an old veteran. No, we didn't. Olivia La Barbera wasn't able to make it from Livermore, so we're going to improvise, and we happen to have a recent Livermore High graduate today, so we're going to ask Mr. Rogi if you would give us any summary of Livermore High.
Yes, thank you for that. After 30 years, I finally got that diploma.
3 years, right?
3 years, yes. Anyway, Olivia wasn't here to make it, but I've got some things to talk about. Sports, most all sports are suffering because of the weather, except for swimming. They always will be in the water, so they're doing well. Livermore's had several track meets, lacrosse games. We went to NCAA for girls soccer. Thank you. I was trying to remember which one it was, which was a great deal for us. Also, finals are also this Thursday, or Wednesday and Thursday. Last week they had, or the week before, they had the class fair, which I want to call it a job fair, but that's not, what was it called? The Expo, thank you, the Expo. The end of March will be the junior prom, which I hope everybody's signing up for. And then Livermore was also like to congratulate Granada on the breaking ground for their new sports stadium. So we'll get to look at yours before we get ours. Then also one big feather in our cap is Livermore High School has been named a distinguished school from the state of California. And with that, I want to say that every day is a great day to be a cowboy.
Nice job, Charles. We're going to go into our next section. This is our employee associations. This is an opportunity for our bargaining groups and our employees, our folks who work here, the backbone of this district, to come up, and their leadership comes up and kind of gives us an update on what's going on within their respective bargaining group. So coming up right now is Kate Sorrell with LEA. Good evening.
Good evening, President Bueno, members of the school board, Superintendent Bowers, members of the cabinet, people in the audience here and at home. My name is Kate Sorrell, and I'm the president of the Livermore Education Association and a proud cowboy. The Livermore Education Association is a grassroots democratic organization. We are in the midst of the election cycle, which takes place every year in February and March. Positions on the executive board vary by year, as in one group comes in the odd years, the other group comes in even years. This year, our members will be casting ballots to fill the position of vice president, treasurer, elementary rep at large, middle school rep at large, high school rep at large, and non-classroom certificated rep at large. Voting will take place at school sites from March 12th through March 18th. The teachers at school sites are busy with the usual end of trimester activities. At middle and high schools, final exams are being given and assessed. Elementary teachers are scheduling conferences. Elementary, middle, and high school teachers are entering student performance data into their grade books and then assigning grades based on that data. Counselors are distributing AP and IB exam applications and getting ready for course registration at our high schools. Trimester 3 begins on Monday, and we will have 58 days left in the school year. Tomorrow morning, school board presidents, superintendents, and union presidents from throughout Alameda County will gather in Hayward as part of the East Bay Coalition of Public Educators efforts to secure full and fair funding for public education. LEA Vice President Amy Thompson will attend to represent our members. Plans will include how to best prepare for a lobby day scheduled for April 3rd in Sacramento to advocate for the passage of AB 39. That the bill increases base LCFF funding by approximately $5,000 for grades K-3, 4-5, 6-8, and 9-12. Our current base LCFF funding was set 5 years ago in 2013. On February 27th, Senate Bill 126 was passed by the California legislature. Governor Newsom signed that legislation into law this afternoon. This legislation requires that charter school governing boards meet the same open meeting requirements and conflict of interest requirements as municipal, district, county, and state governing boards. There are two other important bills being considered. AB 1505 will eliminate the ability of county or state boards to authorize new charter schools. AB 1508 will allow districts to consider the impact of a new charter school on district facilities, as well as its fiscal and academic impact. Charter schools need to be held accountable for how taxpayer funds are spent. In the spirit of local control, county and state boards should not be allowed to overrule district school board decisions. Diverting funds from local public schools to charter schools and requiring districts to provide facilities to the detriment of neighborhood schools is unfair to our students. On behalf of the counselors, nurses, psychologists, speech pathologists, classroom teachers, and teachers on special assignment, I ask everyone here and in the audience at home to support AB 1505 and AB 1508. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sorrell. I don't see them here tonight, but also just to recognize Amy Kristovich is the president of CSEA, and Teresa Jennings is our president of SEIU, and Cindy Martinez is our confidentials. And I don't see any of those folks aren't here tonight. So we're going to move into our communication from the public. We're at section 8 on the agenda if you're following along. Communication from the public is the time for the public to comment either in writing or verbally on any item that is not on our agenda. We, the board, may listen to the comment. We can ask clarifying questions of our staff, but we can't take action and we can't discuss these items. This is in accordance with the Brown Act. So now would be the time, if you had one of those topics that you'd like to discuss, to come on up. I have no tan cards, so it doesn't appear as though we have any. So we're going to go ahead and close it, and we're going to go into our correspondence. Formal correspondence to the Board of Education shall be acknowledged if received by the board or in the superintendent's office by 4 p.m. the day before the meeting. Formal written correspondence received after the cutoff time will be acknowledged at the following meeting. Electronic communication received via the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District website by accessing the formal written correspondence to the Board of Education All the fields need to be completed and verified. We'll treat that as formal written correspondence. With all that being said, I'd ask our clerk, Mr. Rogie, if there is any correspondence. I believe there was the one in the exchange, and if you could summarize it for us, please.
Yes, we have one from California Department of Education by U.S. Mail. Fred Yeager, School Facilities and Transportation Services Division. The board received a final modernization plan approval for Mitchell K-8 school. These approvals from CDE are key as they are positioning us for state bond facilities and matching funds. With that, that's it.
Thank you very much. Superintendent Bowers, if you'd introduce our first discussion item, please.
Certainly. So for our first information item, I see our Director of Community Engagement coming forward once again, Mrs. Philomena Rambo. She will be presenting, for information only, an overview of our district communications.
Thank you, Dr. Bowers. Good evening again, everyone, and also to our community. It is my pleasure this evening to present this district communication update. As you know, that in order to fulfill our district's mission and send our students off into the world to be successful, they must first be successful in school. And research shows that if families are engaged in the education of their children, that those students have a far greater chance of being successful. We believe that family engagement begins with and is sustained by effective communication. With the advent of the Local Control Accountability Plan, and specifically in our district of LCAP Goal number 3, educators throughout the state of California were called on to engage parents. And our specific goal, enhance parent and community engagement and communication. And so with that goal in mind, last year, the Communication Task Force gathered and representing stakeholders and grade levels from throughout our district. They met and examined communication, and quickly the focus turned to external communication. The result of that meeting, you may recall, is that I was here just about a year ago, and the board approved the purchase of new and efficient communication tools, which we'll talk about a little bit this evening. So this report is going to highlight the implementation of those tools, as well as some of the good old-fashioned means of communication we have had in use for many years. We're going to start by looking at our external communication and outreach. And then, of course, we'll go to internal communication. It's this two together, efficient internal communication that allows us to have external communication that works and sustains and develops these relationships with our family and community members. So we connect with our families in a variety of ways. These are most of the electronic ways that we use, and you'll see that the card on the right is, which I believe is also at your place. These were created recently and shared at our kindergarten registration fair. So lots of families picked these up, and we are hoping that they will also be used to encourage them to follow us online and to keep in touch. They're also available on counters in schools, so we're getting the word out that all of these means of communication are available for our families to use to find out what's going on in our schools and how they can become involved. I will start with our signature communication piece. This is our website. We're very proud of this new website tool. In addition to its contemporary look, it's designed really to engage all members of our community. Our website is accessible. That really means that that our website is in compliance with the American Disabilities Act. Individuals, for example, who have a screen reader are able to access the images on our website through our alternate text. They're able to see all of the information that we have for everybody. For our parents and guardians whose language is, their preferred language is not English, they have the opportunity on our website to translate it into 70 different languages, so it becomes completely accessible to them as well. As you can imagine, launching a new website involved a great deal of teamwork, and so with the IT department, the community engagement department, and truly representatives from all school sites, we gathered over the summer and into the fall and really ongoing to develop this new website, to refresh outdated information, and to get these up and running at all of our schools. Our goal is to have this website be an absolute complete resource, kind of the cache of all that we know in our district, so that our staff members can go to it as well, but primarily our parents and guardians, our students, and our community members can go to this website. They can learn about our schools, they can see what's going on in basically every area, and in addition, they can have a lot of professionally vetted resources that they can use to inform their role as parents and guardians supporting the children socially, social, emotionally, academically, and behaviorally. So that's our website. We love it. And our mass notification tool, which was put into use many days recently, is what allows us to have the ease of communication. It doesn't take long to send an email or a text to the parents and guardians of 13,900 students, and it is phenomenal. So I will praise this unendingly. The example that you see up here is a snapshot from an email that was sent on our district stationery that we have available through our online mass communication tool. And the reason I chose this one was to show you that at the top, the title is in English as well as Spanish. We have a couple of different ways of translating these emails. If they're short, we can translate them within the system, and they come out in both Spanish and English. And if they're longer, such as this one was that was sent in January, we usually invite our staff members to provide translations for us, but they go to families in both languages, and that has been a real boon. I know that when we first started this with the smoke conditions, I got a lot of responses from parents in Spanish thanking me for letting them continue to stay informed. Our teachers have not had this tool before this year, and they're starting to use it and really enjoying it. We have over 700 messages that have been sent by teachers, reaching over 1,500 people. Teachers can send emails or texts. The administrators are completely embracing it. Over 1,500 messages have gone out by our administrators. That would include me. I send them to a lot of people. For a total of over, are you sitting down, 1.5 million contacts already. So this tool truly helps support our LCAP goals because it's so easy to use. It really allows us the opportunity to reach out and engage our community. And in addition to, slow down. In addition to the emails that we just talked about, we are able to send messages to their inbox, of course, but messages can also go to the app. We're able to post on social media. We can post on the website. So this is just one little tool on our desktop or actually in the palm of our hand on our phone that really allows us to engage our community. So we're super proud and excited about our mobile app, so much so that you got to get this little mug. Thank you, Michelle, for making these. Our mobile app is really it holds everything. The mobile app is where you can go to find calendar events from any school, all schools, the district. It pulls information from the home pages of the district website as well as the school websites. It has breaking news. It has Peach Star flyers. It allows for easy emailing of staff. There's a directory on the app. People can just push on the teacher's name and their email program on their phone pops up. There are news feeds that pull from the top posts of social media and the homepage. It has the Peach Star flyers on there. Parents can log in and pay cafeteria balances for their students. They can check out, see what books the students have checked out, what textbooks they might still have under the bed, that kind of thing. So this is our mobile app, believe me, in brief. We also have and use several social media platforms. These, by the way, do also populate the mobile app. So again, if you have that mobile app, you have it all. We use Facebook, but because they all feed to the app, we realize that there's no point in having redundant social media. So what we've done is created kind of a focus for each of these particular forms of social media. So Facebook is our community bulletin board. We currently have almost 4,000 followers on Facebook, and we use our MTSS benchmarks of academic, behavioral, and social emotional growth as we look for community events that we want to highlight for our parents and guardians. So we share events with them. We also provide opportunities for families. For example, we will share Lawrence Livermore National Laboratories Science on Saturdays post. We will share things from our partners. On the right, you see the Pedrosi post for the Pedrosi Scholarship. Our Twitter is really our news feed, and this is typically how Twitter is regarded by cities and other organizations and communities. We post our press releases on our website. We send them out through email to certain people, and we also put them out on Twitter, so they get even greater coverage on Twitter. People share them, and that's an opportunity for us to really brag about the successes of our schools, as you can see in this picture. We also use Twitter to promote partnerships. This is where we will repost tweets put out by the City of Livermore, by the library, also by the Pedrosi Foundation. It's also where we can provide resources for families as well as for staff. For example, the January letter that you saw earlier was about online safety, so we might post something or retweet something that is from Common Sense Media, for example. Our intent is to provide our parents and guardians with resources that have been looked at by members of our district, and then so they can trust them. Instagram is our newest addition to our social media family. It already has 200 followers in just about 2 months, and we are using Instagram to tell our story. So we're sharing our story by taking people behind the scenes. What's going on in the classroom? What's going on out on the field? Where are people having fun? How are people learning? And you'll see if you look at Instagram that most of these pictures are not posed like the one tonight. In fact, sometimes people aren't even looking at the cameras because they're so engrossed in what they're doing. So that's kind of fun. In addition to sharing our story, we really feel that having the pictures builds community. Once people really see what happens at school, it brings to life those dinnertime conversations when parents ask, what did you do today? So we also hashtag our posts. Every post has hashtag Livermore Schools on it, for example, which makes them more easily identifiable and also increases their searchability. And while we post our partners' information, our partners also post ours. And this is a screenshot of a next door post by the City of Livermore. And what they're doing in this particular post is they're sharing information about our kindergarten registration fair. And so those little Unite team members over there got some fame from this particular post. The Unite team made a video helping parents figure out how they should go through the registration process. It was great. It took the parents to our website, showed them where to go on the website and how to register. So this was a real great feature of everything coming together with the new tools as well as the collaboration within our district and with our community so that we could better serve our families and get them engaged. We also still have personal connections. And while social media and online apps are the way to go in the 21st century, and truly they do provide people with whatever means is of interest to them to engage in schools, we really pride ourselves on making the personal connections that foster engagement. So whether it's back to school night or the expo or an athletic event or a coffee with the principal, we invite people to come to our schools to really meet the teachers, meet the staff members, see where their kids sit, that kind of thing, to really get to know those schools well. We invite them to parent and community meetings. We really believe that having parents at our schools isn't enough. We want them to be there and be thoughtful and be contributing. They come to LCAP meetings, they come to site council meetings, parent-teacher organization meetings. The more they know about the school, the better they can provide us with guidance to create the schools to meet their needs as well. So really our goal is to actively involve them in decision-making. We also offer many forms of parent education already. I think we have a tremendous preschool program, for example, for parents of preschool students. In addition, we are hoping to expand that, and one of the calendared items this month and starting in next is to create a parent focus group, or we're going to have several opportunities for parents to gather to give input on a parent education plan, a parent engagement plan. We also hear from our families through surveys, many surveys actually throughout our district, but in particular, the annual survey that we administer, in fact, it just closed yesterday. This is the survey that we use to inform our LCAP report. And just as a little anecdote, the survey closed yesterday, and yesterday morning, I looked at the surveys and realized that we had about 360 people who had begun the survey but had not finished them. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to use this mass notification tool. I sent a text to all the parents in our district, and we had over 300 surveys completed yesterday that had begun, and we had 48 more people who had not even started them do it. So that was a great example of one tool helping us out to get to hear from our parents. And it also really shows us that our parents do want to share their views. So we're giving them that opportunity, and we're listening to them as well. So that's a look at some of our external communications. Our internal communications, of course, are those that support our own work as educators and provide us with the ability to serve our community. So we are a G Suite district. And if you haven't, this almost looks like a clock. was thinking we should probably make one. So if you want to start at 12 o'clock and go around clockwise, a G Suite district has Google Drive, which kind of holds it all, Google Docs, Google Forms, right? It has Google Sheets, Google Sites, Google Slides, Google Mail, Gmail, Calendar, and Google Hangouts. So we have all of these that work in our district. Our students and staff all have Google Mail accounts. Those Google Mail accounts, by the way, are also what is uploaded into our mass communication system. So when we send a message to our staff members or to our students, they can open it in their inbox. Our students in class, for example, can log on to their Chromebooks and open a message from their teacher. If our students have also downloaded the app, that message will come to them on the app, so on their phone. We've had teachers at some levels, particularly our high schools, request that they have the ability to do more than just sending a one-way message. They'd like to do two-way communication with their students, and they really recognize the importance of having whatever tool they use be one that is our district's tool as opposed to some of the other programs that are available out there. So with that in mind, we're looking into utilizing further some of the Google Suite tools that we have, particularly Hangouts. Hangouts, it allows them to basically text, but by using their LVJUSD.org accounts, not their cell phone numbers. So, and it's archived. So there's those guys. And then these are examples of how Google is put to work by our staff. So in the middle, I have a snapshot of the Communication Toolkit for Administrators. This is an ongoing project that has a ton of resources, and the idea is ultimately, not ultimately, sooner rather than later, to create for administrators a place where they can go to have protocols, how to send out letters for back to school night, welcome back to school, state testing's coming up, crisis communications, you name it, so that they have a guideline and they can actually have language to use when they aren't necessarily having time to think about what language they should use. The goal moving forward is to get some of these templates put into Blackboard. We already have a few in there, but to have a few more put in there so that if there's a mass notification that they need to send out right away, they can log into the system, whether it's from their phone again or from their desktop. They can pull up this message, put in the right date, maybe change a few details, and quickly get it out. Leadership Weekly is the slice at the bottom. That is a compilation of information, requests, news from cabinet level members of the district office that is sent weekly to all site level administrators. And this is an efficient method of communication that's in lieu of literally dozens and dozens of emails. On the left, we have another piece of communication that I think it went live last week. This was created by Leslie Williams in the curriculum department. And it's just a Google Doc that has a lot of links to many other Google Docs. This would probably be a book about this thick if it were a book. And I put it up here because we also have a part in it. There's a little communication section. There's an HR section. It's a great resource for teachers, and it allows us to make changes, again, as they are relevant, and the teachers will still have current information at their fingertips. And that non-Google image, that's Leslie. You're supposed to chuckle. I put that up there because we really spend a lot of time on the phone, too. If we're not out at sites, we're talking to people who are at sites. And the phone rings all day long. They're calling with questions. How can I do this? I think the word's gotten out that we're there, and we answer the phone and we help them. So like everybody else in this district office, we are really customer service oriented, and that's kind of fun. So the old-fashioned form of communication, that phone, although hers is usually hooked up to her ear, works. Okay, so this is kind of a look at where we've been and how we have some electronic communication, some personal communication, and then I guess you always want to know, and I would too, where are we going next? So in addition to what I've said already, we're going to continue with training. We offered, I think, over 55 hours of training to get the website launched, and we have lots more calendared this spring, and I'm sure we'll have some more ongoing. To continue to train school sites to have the expertise to develop the websites to look the way they want. We're going to be offering trainings to any teacher who's interested in having a website through Blackboard. And we're also going to be doing a great deal of mass notification training. As I mentioned, it was a new tool for teachers, and they're eager to learn how to use it. We're going to be developing more internal communication protocols, getting our brand cemented, if you will. I talked about being ADA compliant on the website. Our internal protocols as well as training will help us all learn how to create all of our documents in a way that is compliant so that we can ultimately meet the needs of everybody who reads them. I mentioned the templates. The parent engagement plan is in progress, and we'll get input from parents over the next month. And again, the goal with the parent handbook is kind of the district website, but we want to make it a little bit more organized and accessible so that parents, excuse me, can find whatever it is that they need online, resources that we provide, and if they're not there, we'll find them. So we have a lot of knowledge, and I would like to see it reflected in the district website so that it really can be, as I mentioned, kind of the holder of all of our knowledge. So again, this all goes back to LCAP goal number 3. It's all about engaging our parents, our guardians, our families, and our communities in the success of our students, whether it's through our website or our mobile app or our social media or all of those tools in G Suite, or even by personal communication and notes. We feel that communication's very, very important and a whole lot of fun too, by the way. So this is our district mission. And again, in order to achieve it, our students need to be successful. We need to involve our families, and we are reaching out to communicate with them to make that happen. So with that, I will conclude my report this evening and invite you to ask any questions or share any comments that you may have.
Thank you very much. We're going to start with Mrs. Prusso.
First of all, thank you for putting this presentation together. And I do have some comments and some questions. My first comment is I really appreciate the new website, and I think it is much easier to navigate. At the beginning, I wasn't so sure, but I am 100% on board with it now. And also the app, I have the app, and I think it's probably the best. Like you have said, it's the best thing. And I've been able to put all the schools on that I went there. I just love that I can get any information there that I need. It's like you said, everything is there in that app, and it's however you want to make it, however specific you want it to be, according to wherever your kids go. My question is related to that. Do you know how many people have downloaded the app or are using the app?
I'm surprised I didn't brag about that. Yes. Well, thank you for your compliments. We have about 4,500 app downloads to date, and my guess is that it'll double by the end of this calendar year. We're going to do a little competition with the schools and maybe have people like you go out and say how amazing it is.
Yeah, I have to say that I did show it off at the School Board Association conference when I went to a workshop, and they were talking about communication. So I showed them the app, and everyone there was very impressed. Nobody had even heard about it, so that was good. But yes, that was my other question, is how do we get more parents? And I think that those are some good ideas, because for me, if I have parents who reach out to me like, I didn't know about volleyball tryouts, I'm like, do you have the app? Mm-hmm. Because everything is on there. So I think that I'm really glad that we have that. I think that's how people get information nowadays anyway. So I think it works for most people if they can just download it. And then I also am one of your 200 followers on Instagram. So I just started following that. And the other, and I just wanted to say good job for the IT, for the TK video, for the kindergarten and TK video. I think that's important. There are a lot of people who don't have kids in school who are completely overwhelmed. So I think that's great. And then also, just a question about the survey. I also appreciate the survey. I thought the questions were very good and relevant. Do you know how many, you may have touched on this, but I didn't quite, how many surveys did we get completed? Do you know? I know that was pretty recent. So
yeah, I think we're going to bring that to another meeting. I think we had I know we had 600 more this year than we did last year. Okay. So we went from about 2,700, 3,300.
Okay. And then what happens to those results? Are they made public? Will they be on the website, or how does that work?
They should be on the website, yes.
Yeah.
They will be presented to various parent groups, to the board certainly first, and shared out. And then that was actually something that several people who completed the survey made comments, how will we share them out. So I believe it's important for people who participate in surveys to understand, to get the results back so that they can see where their responses fit in with others, and also then for them to know that we take their comments seriously, and then to indicate how we plan to address them. So we will share them out. Okay. I think the website for sure.
Yeah, great. And then one more thing is I think the parent handbook is essential. I know that the information is on the website, but I think having one place where you can get, you have a question, whether it's about an IEP or whether it's about some kind of harassment issue or bullying or whatever, that you can find one, it's like a one place where you can find it. For me as a parent, I think that would be really helpful. So I'm glad that you guys are working on that. And anyway, I think it's great. I think that you're fulfilling that LCAP goal, and I think we're off to a good start. So appreciate your hard work.
Thank you.
And thank you for the mug.
The mug is great.
Thank you, Ms. Prusso. We're going to go to Mrs. White.
Yes, it's the biggest coffee mug I've ever seen, and I'm a coffee drinker, so I'm appreciated. I guess I'm mostly interested in whether it's working. And some of the things you mentioned are real numbers that improved. On the other hand, like I mentioned to Mrs. Prusso before the meeting started, how do people know that they can get the parent handbook, or that there even is a parent handbook if it only comes on your screen? There's still hard copy people around. And so I would hope that we could, I don't know, raise the flag, push announcements about things like that. And I really would like some black and white hard numbers, if you can make a chart or whatever, so that I'll have something to talk about when people talk about our app.
Oh, okay.
Just about before and now, so that we see the improvement. And do we have we still certainly must have parent meetings.
Absolutely.
At schools.
Mm-hmm.
Are more parents coming to the meetings? I mean, that's real bodies in chairs that we could have communication with, and people that come to a meeting are vocal, would think, want to have input. So I think that's a real part of the LCAP goal, rather than just electronically.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White. I believe that concludes all our questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you'd introduce 9-2, please.
And maybe just some of her team is out here from community engagement, so we want to wave your hand and thank you for all that. So thanks. So for our next item, actually the next 3 items will be Mr. Chris Fanchak. He's our deputy superintendent. He will start with an update on what we call PKS, which stands for particular kinds of service.
Thank you, Dr. Bowers. This actually is an interesting item, because it's like Seinfeld was a show about nothing. This is actually the item about nothing, because I'm going to talk about layoffs, but basically under the umbrella that we will not have layoffs this year in the certificated staff, which is exciting enough to warrant a presentation. So just a little bit of background. PKS stands for particular kinds of service. There are 2 reasons to reduce certificated workforce. One would be we don't need the work. For example, if not enough students signed up for a particular class, we wouldn't want to offer that particular class. So that would be not work for the teacher, and the other would be the lack of funds. So if we're going through budget reductions, we would eliminate certificated staff members. So those are the 2 reasons to reduce workforce. Each time this year, we bring to you typically some small portion of reduction in particular kinds of service. Maybe not enough students sign up for French, for example, so we reduce French offerings at a high school by 2 or 3 sections, and so that would come to the board. This year, actually, there are enough retirements and resignations and folks moving on that any reduction in class desires by students is more than made up for by the fact that we have teachers who are leaving us for other reasons. And so, again, it's very exciting for me to be able to share with the board and with the public that unlike other districts in our neighborhood, we will not have to be laying off certificated employees this year. I think even more important is the district's commitment to maintaining a workforce that allows us to keep class sizes small. And so this is a chart that shows you class sizes as they currently exist. They're on the far right. And then as you move to the left, what our projections are for next year and how the maintenance of our certificated employees allow us to keep relatively low class sizes. And so just a little bit of explanation on the chart. The TK3, as you see, we currently average 23.68 students per classroom. Our goal is 24. At the 4-5 level, we set a goal of 28, and we're at 27.24. Again, I'm reading numbers down the far right column. In 6-8 and 9-12, I had to approach this in a little different way because we have some unusually large classes, for example, in PE, and also some unusually small classes. For example, maybe an advanced placement class might only have 7 or 8 students. And so each of the high schools has about 900 sections. And so I took all of the sections and I took off the top 5% and bottom 5% so that we'd get a better indication of our average class size. And so you see in the 9-12 there, 27.55. So what that means is if you were to walk into a math classroom at Granada High School, you'd probably see 27, 28 students, something like that. At the 6-8 level, the average right now is 27.10. As we look forward to next year, again, students have not yet signed up for courses at the high school, so it's just a projected number, and it's a target of ours to be 28 at the high school and the middle school. And we do have some numbers from our elementary school, and so we're projecting around 23.5 at TK3 and about 27 3/4 at 4-5. And again, I think it's just important that the board recognize that your commitment to maintaining small class sizes, which is reflected in the item, the item in general about reducing workforce, will pay dividends next year as we look at class sizes that we think are relatively reasonable. So again, that's all I have about the non-elimination of particular kinds of service, and if there's any questions or comments, I'd be happy to answer as best I can.
Yeah. Okay, we're good.
Wow.
Nice job, Mr. Seinfeld.
When I was teaching and I got no questions at all, I realized that no one was probably listening. So I will not assume that in this case.
Fair.
Mr. It could be that you just covered everything masterfully.
That's what I will think. Anyway, so the next item has to do with the public hearing. This is negotiation season. And unlike baseball, where we have a spring training, in negotiations, we just get right into it. And so the first part of our process takes place tonight, and that is with the sun shining. So just to remind you of the process, we have successor agreements. So every 3 years, we open up the entire contract, and we can negotiate any of the articles in the contract. Those are very extensive negotiation sessions. So in the in-between years, we have a limited number of articles that we're allowed to open, and by contract, it's 3 each. And so those are considered successor agreements. We typically begin the process in mid-March. Our goal each year, and I'm looking out at my friends from LEA, our goal is to complete our negotiations by the end of the school year so that we can go off into the summer feeling good about ourselves and not have to negotiate in the fall. So the timing is we begin now and we stretch it into the spring, but we try to conclude negotiations if we can. And again, this is for next school year, by the end of this school year. As many of you are aware, there's a couple of different approaches to negotiations. There's interest-based bargaining, which is one that we try to employ as much as we can, and that's where there's a collaborative effort to identify the interests of both sides and to come to agreements that meet the interests of each party. That's in contrast to positional bargaining, which is the kind of bargaining you do when you go into a car dealership. And I know that's a process that none of us really enjoy very much, where really it's each side trying to get as much as they can, which means taking something from the other side. And so we have sort of a collaborative process. It's interest-based at its core, but really it's about maintaining good conversations and getting to agreements that work for both sides. And so that's a process that we go through. As I mentioned, the term sunshining is used for making public those items that we plan to negotiate in case anyone from the public cares to weigh in or in case board members care to weigh in. And so the process is we bring those items to the public. We say, hey, here's what we plan to talk about. Does anyone want to make comments? We have a public hearing tonight. We take input for the next 2 weeks, and then we finalize it at the next board meeting. So with that said, the reopeners from the Livermore Education Association include Articles 9, 10, and 16. Those are the 3 that they've selected. Articles 13, 21, and 22 are automatic reopeners, and so they didn't have to select those because we were going to negotiate those anyway, but I did include those on the list so that the board and the public are aware that we will talk about our mentoring program, wages, and health benefits, but that LEA's selected 3 were workday, special education, and class size. And so the superintendent's recommendation is that President Bueno open a public hearing in case there is anyone who would like to comment upon those items selected by the Livermore Education Association, and after that is completed, to close the public hearing.
Thank you very much. And I'd remind fellow trustees, this is a discussion item. There's no action required. So we're going to open the public hearing, and I have no comment cards. I'd ask, is there any questions from the board, comments? And having no public comment, we will go ahead and close the hearing.
Fantastic. So the second part of this is the reopeners by the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District. And the 3 that we've selected are class size, leaves, and technology. And so that, again, in combination with the reopeners from the LEA, would be, well, we have 1 overlap, actually, class size. So that's 5 reopeners and then the 3 that are automatic. So same process. If President Bueno could open a public hearing, take any comments that are made, and then go ahead and close the public hearing.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to open the public hearing. And with it open, I'd ask fellow trustees if you have any items to discuss, any questions. I have none from the public, so we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing.
Thank you very much.
Introduce our first action item.
Certainly, it's my pleasure to bring up Dr. Kevin Greer. He is our Director of Curriculum and Special Projects, and joining him are some teachers from our high schools who've been very active. So the next 2 items, actually, we have a new course coming forward, which I think it's my absolute favorite course description ever, because it so fits what we need in the world right now, with positivity and optimism. And then, not that I don't also enjoy European history, but so I didn't want to insult the next course with Mr. Martin here, but I did want to just say that this is an exciting time because we either bring forward new courses or we update our existing courses to make sure that they're fresh for the students and everything is current. So, Dr. Greer.
Okay. Good evening, President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and members of Cabinet. I'm here tonight to present a new high school course for your approval. I've invited Alexis Bailey from Granada High School's Social Science Department to be here tonight should you have questions about this particular course. I understand you might have a person interest in the course. Ms. Bailey is also the IB psychology teacher. So. The course is a new psychology course for us called Positive Psychology. Let's click over. Am I going backward? Oh. Where did it go? It's sitting on my screen. I think I'm going to go down. There we go. Can we go to... Should. There we go. Sorry about that. So this course is designed to be an introductory psychology course taken by students who may then be interested in taking other upper level psychology courses, including AP Psychology if you're at Livermore High School, or IB Psychology if you're at Granada High School. The course is a scientific study of human happiness, well-being, and strength of character. Students will learn defining and measuring happiness, intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation, resilience, post-traumatic growth, and social support structures in healthy relationships. The course uses a textbook called A Primer in Positive Psychology, and I will mention that the course is modeled off a similar course offered in Bay Area school districts. So with that, if you have any questions regarding the course, I do have Miss Alexis Bailey here to help address any of those questions.
Thank you very much. We'll start with Mrs. White.
This is an introduction course that, and I can't remember what, for freshmen, or what grade level are you?
We're, oh, Dr. Porces.
Green is on.
There we go.
I need to get closer too.
Here, we decided we're going to open it up to 9 through 12, just to kind of
Just to
allow all students to open it up, to experience the course. But its intentions is to be geared towards the underclassmen as a pathway type course.
And then they will be eligible to take
The IB courses, either the SL or HL course at Granada or the AP course over at Livermore High.
Are there not other psychology courses
No.
that
no,
are
yeah.
offered?
Not currently.
that one?
I'm not familiar with what Livermore High offers, but at Granada, no, we have the two, the SL Psych, which is kind of
Okay.
the college, the lower level, and then the HL, which is the
Okay,
upper
there,
division.
it seems to me I recall other psychology courses, but maybe they aren't even
We've
on the
kind of
books
been
anymore.
redesigning the pathways
Yeah.
as we've been expanding, because there's
That
been
makes
some
sense.
redundancy in the courses.
Sure, sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White. We'll go to Mrs. Prusso.
This is a one semester. Is that 2 trimesters or?
One.
It's 1 trimester. Okay.
Of course, yeah.
And then I was just looking at it. It looks really exciting. And just a question about the supplemental materials. That's a lot of them. Are you just using parts of?
Yes.
It's not okay.
It's just bits and pieces,
Okay.
chapters here and there, passages here and there. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then this again after this, then students could move on towards an AP, an advanced psychology. But we have no other lower.
No.
This would be the first. Okay.
Correct.
Kind of the design. We don't have that, and we think that it's necessary.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It seems strange to have to wait till your 11th or 12th grade year to take an interest in psychology.
Yeah.
So this would help kids to try to identify that a little sooner and then
Right.
maybe be able to take an interest in it in their 11th and 12th grade year with a bit of background before you start the course.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Ms. Prusso.
Echo again.
Oh, yes, one moment. Mr. Rogi? Okay. We'll go back to Mrs. White.
What department is this in? The
social studies.
Social studies. So
Mhm.
do you get social studies credit for it?
Yes, you
for
do.
A to G?
Yeah, it's A to G. Well, our intention is for it to be A to G, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White. Now, Mr. Rogi.
Yeah, I was just reading through again the synopsis that was provided. I really do like the courses. I almost think it should be part of FIT.
I agree.
Starts them out early, and I did like some of the approaches about sleep for teenagers. Some of these other concepts that are out there and you're discussing. One chapter that's missing is about the positiveness of high school kids to their parents. It's really a great one.
Well, that will be worked in through all of that. It can get in there.
Thank you very much. It's a good class. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rogi. Yeah, it sounds like it's a good class. I liked, especially when you're starting off with core things, and I read in there, it just says, what is happiness?
Right.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Especially with all the stresses that are going on with kids.
Right.
And the positive message, and kind of looking into it, and what does it mean, and how to define it.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's a good course.
Right, and in my mind, it fits directly with the Choose Love curriculum. I mean, I don't think you could find a better fit for that, so.
That's great.
Yeah.
Nice work. Any further questions? I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the new course description, positive psychology.
I second.
We have a motion by Mrs. White to support the superintendent's recommendation on the positive psychology. It's been seconded by Mrs. Prusso. Any discussion on the motion? Clerk, if you call the roll, please.
Yes, myself, aye. Mrs. White?
Aye.
Mrs. Prusso?
Aye.
President Bueno?
Aye. That motion carries 4-0, the absence of Mr. Wenzel. Nicely done. Thank you.
All righty, so we'll move on to our second course tonight. This is an updated course description for Advanced Placement European History. So again, I've invited Larry Martin, who happens to be Granada High School's Social Science Department Chair and Teacher, to be here tonight if you have questions about this particular course. The course is a revised AP European History course. It was originally approved by the Board of Education here back in June of 2010. The course is designed to be an equivalent college introductory European history course taken by history majors during their first year. The course will immerse and extend students' understanding of European history from the 1300s to present. So that'll include Renaissance, Reformation, Enlightenment, World War I, II, Cold War, and present day. And it'll be covering key concept areas, taking all of those individual moments in European history around a cultural, economic, political, and social development lens. The three main goals of the European history class would be developing an understanding, analyzing and interpreting historical evidence, and kind of getting used to doing writing from a historical point of view, using probably first and second and third party kind of course materials. The course will also, obviously as an AP course, prepare students if they should choose to take the AP exam for AP European History in May. While the course is written for both of the comprehensive high schools to ultimately use, the course is currently taught at Granada High School. Livermore High School teaches the World History course, and Granada has chosen to teach the AP European History course. So with that being said, if you have any questions around it, I do have, again, Mr. Larry Martin here to offer any insights into the course.
Thank you very much. We'll start with Mrs. Prusso.
This course looks fascinating to me, but also very rigorous. And I think it's great. I'm not sure what the updates were to the curriculum, but I did just have a question. I'm just curious how many students usually typically take this class, and then how many take the exam? Do you have that information? Just curious
We're
about
running
it.
with 4 sections right now, so we have upwards of about 150 students taking the class right now,
Okay.
and usually over half of them take the exam.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Prusso. Mr. Rogi?
Yeah, I think it's a great course, and some of the things that I've seen in the last couple of weeks kind of dovetail into this. There was an article in Wall Street Journal about AP courses and their value. If anybody has a chance, go look that up on the internet and read it. It was pretty enlightening that a lot of districts tend to be getting away from AP classes in various areas. And this article was to draw it back and how critical an AP class is for getting into college. The other one, I was looking at the part of it in here that goes into World War I, World War II. I don't normally back movies, but there's a movie out there called They Shall Not Grow Old. It was at the Vine last week, and I saw it. It's a re-enhancement of film that was shot during World War I with audio. That part of the history really drove me home. I don't know if anybody's seen it. It's very graphic, very disturbing, but gave me an insight of history that I hadn't realized through the textbooks that I was given when I was in high school. So I think this class is a real good enlightenment for the students, and I welcome it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rogi. Yeah, I ongoingly support the AP and the IB, the expansion, the work that you put in to make sure that they're comprehensive. I know this is hard. You're doing high-end stuff, and you got to make sure it's right because these kids are going to be watching you. So, and I'm curious, 1,300. I mean, is that just so you can catch the plague, or?
Yeah, we start at the plague and
Yeah.
we work all the way to Brexit.
Okay.
So it's a lot of curriculum.
Yeah. Those peculiar 1,300s. Thank you very much. We don't have any further questions, so thank you very much. With no further questions, I have no public cards. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move that we pass or approve 10.2, the approval of updated course description, advanced placement of European history, AB.
A second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rogi to support the superintendent's recommendation on the approval of the 912 updated course description, advanced placement, European history. It's been seconded by Mrs. Prusso. Is there any question on the motion? Mr. Clerk, if you call the roll, please.
Yes, Mrs. Prusso.
Aye.
Myself, aye. Mrs. White.
Aye.
President Bueno.
Aye. And that motion carries 4-0 with the absence of Mr. Wenzel. Thank you very much. Nice work.
We'd like to thank the teachers too. They've had a long work day and they are here with us late, and we appreciate all your effort and work. For our next item, I see our bond program director coming forward, Mr. Tim Bazanowski, and he will be presenting for your consideration and hopefully approval a contract for project inspection services for the upcoming exciting Joe Mitchell K-8 renovation project.
Thank you, Dr. Bowers, President Bueno, and members of the board. We have for you this evening for your consideration the award of a contract for project inspection services. Project inspection services are a particular aspect of our construction projects that go hand in hand with our jurisdicting agency, the Division of the State Architect. There's a particular process that goes with all of our projects that the State Architect's Office requires us to follow, and we have an inspector on each of our projects. The Division of the State Architect has a couple of different aspects that they review in their plan checking and inspection process. The three main ones are the fire and life safety aspects of a building, the structural safety aspects, and then, of course, the access compliance or handicap accessibility aspects. In the inspection requirements process, inspectors are certified through a rigorous examination and course of study, and they are granted a license in one of 4 different classes of inspector, class 1 through class 4. Class 1 being the most knowledgeable and is allowed to inspect any class of or any project that we may go build, and 4 being the least and allowed to inspect the least restrictive or least elements of a project. And so when we get to a project, the Division of State Architect will assign the class of project inspector required for any particular project when they do their plan review. Most of our large signature projects are class 1 required due to the type of structure that we're employing on these projects. And so there's a limited number of class 1 inspectors throughout the state, and the Division of State Architect keeps a project inspector list of all of those who are approved in the state, and then once every 6 weeks updates a list that they keep of who's available to come work in your district. It's kind of a free advertisement through the State Architect's Office for project inspectors. Currently, there are 685 Class 1 inspectors across the state. As of the last posting of the availability list, there were 28 inspectors available across the state for the Class 1 that would fit within our time frame for the particular project we're considering. Only 14 of them are in Northern California. The others are in Southern California. And when you discount the handful that I'm personally aware of that I wouldn't want to work in our district, we're below 10. And so that really narrows our field down to project inspection services. Like our construction trades industries, our project inspection services are severely impacted with the amount of work that's going on in our market today. As many of you know, I am a Class 1 certified project inspector. And every time a code changes, every code cycle, I'm required to go and spend a couple of days recertifying my license, of which I did about a month ago up at the State Architect's Office in Sacramento. That gives us an opportunity, or gave me an opportunity, to kind of test the field of who's out there, who's available, what our fellow inspectors talking about. And the things that they were talking about were how busy everyone is, how much money they're charging, and how they can name their price. And so without sharing that I am an owner's representative, it's a good place for me to gather this type of data. In this construction market, this current market, we're also competing with the UC system, the CSU system, OSHPD, which is the hospital approval agency, because many inspectors work for hospitals as well. They have dual certifications, and then also the DSA inspector certification allows you to work at UCs and CSUs as well. And so we have a very impacted market and a very limited pool of inspectors that we can draw on. And so that takes us then to when we get to a project and we have the need for for an inspection service, a particular inspector, how best do we go about that? About a year and a half ago, we conducted an RFQ process, and we received a number of responses, of which we interviewed all of the firms, and in fact put all of the firms that we interviewed, or actually who responded, into a pool of inspection firms that we could draw on. And the board approved that pool at that time. And then on any time we get a project, we'll either solicit particular proposals from those consulting service agencies or those individuals, depending upon who's available. And we look at a number of different things when we get to a particular project in terms of criteria for selecting a project inspector in specific. And there are different things that go with a project inspector's approval beyond just being certified. We always want someone who has great communication skills, has a personality, isn't going to go out and get himself or the contractor into trouble on a project. You know, we call those the gotcha guys that wait till the contractor makes a mistake and then makes them tear it out. Those are not the type of individuals that we want to have working in our district. And so we have these particular things that we want to make sure our inspectors are able to conduct themselves in a professional and personal manner out on the construction site, so that they aid in the process and aid in the progress of a project as opposed to being a hindrance. In addition to what we look at, the state architect's office also has to approve a project inspector for every single project that the inspector requests to work on. The project architect must approve the project inspector. The project structural engineer must approve the project inspector, and the district approves the project inspector as well. And so there are a number of steps that go into the project inspector approval process that have to be completed before that project inspector can work on the project. Some of the best practices that we like to look at and go through are things like, when we know projects are up and coming, we'll try to get our commitments in early when there are folks available. We like to look at folks who have been in the district. The gentleman who's being considered under this contract is the same inspector who worked on this campus last year. So he's cleared our fingerprint process. He knows the campus, he knows the district, and so could be a great fit on our project here over the course of the next 2 years. And that's what this contract is for a 2-year term for the Mitchell renovation project. We also look to see whether this inspector is capable of handling multiple projects within the district. At different times during a large project, there'll be lulls, and so we'll use that time to have that project inspector look at other aspects or other projects within the district. By example, I would share that our inspector at Granada High School right now was the inspector at the stadium projects, and he's also inspecting our playgrounds, and he's also inspecting our video and voice enhancement projects. So he's doing multiple projects under a same fee structure, so it gives us an economy of scale. Another piece that we try to look at and make sure that we're keeping that good stewardship of our taxpayers' money. In summary, the project engineer really is an integral part of the large project, key to its success, as opposed to a city inspector coming to our kitchen renovation to sign off an aspect. The project inspector really helps and aids the project along, and so, like I shared, is very, very important to the success of the project. And we do all those things that we can to put the right people in play and put the right people on a project to make sure that the project will be successful. So with that, then, our superintendent's recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the award of the contract for project inspection services this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Bosnowski. We'll start with Mrs. White.
Yes, I'm delighted that you went into this detail about the inspector. When I looked at the money that was going to change hands. It just didn't make sense, and now I understand. Now, does the inspector, is this one man who is project inspecting services, or does he have a firm that does this?
This gentleman that we're considering works for a firm.
Works
And-
for,
and
but he's
under that firm is all of the insurances, the bonds,
All
the
that.
errors and omissions insurance, and things like that that we require.
okay. Does he just sort of then hang out in Livermore doing the inspections that are imminent, or?
We'll be in Livermore full-time, yes.
Okay, so that makes a whole bunch, and he has a desk and all those sorts of,
Part of the project requirements for the contractor will be to provide him an office trailer. So he will have his own office trailer.
his own office trailer,
Mhm.
and technical, I mean, what do I call it, editorial support? An assistant, or?
Some inspectors or inspection firms do that. Probably not on this project.
Probably not on this project, but, so he'll look like one of us. I mean, I don't mean that as a challenge, but I mean, he's,
Yes, we treat him as one of our bond program team members.
and that's,
Absolutely.
that's just fine. I mean, because he needs to see what we're all about in order to see why we're doing things the way we're doing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm just, I had these questions and I almost made a phone call, and I'm glad you went into even more detail than anybody else probably was interested in. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White. Mrs. Prusso.
Yeah, Anne asked one of my questions, so thank you, Anne. I did have one question. Besides the one, was this a single inspector per site, but also, is this take place of city inspections, or is this just prepare? How does that work? You may have explained that, but I didn't catch it.
Sometimes the terminology gets crossed over. So the Division of the State Architect is the agency that approves our projects.
Okay.
Our city planning commission or public works, they have jurisdiction over the things that we may do in the street. If we're putting in a new driveway, then that is a city permit process. Anything on our school district property is state jurisdicted. Therefore, we have our own state certified inspector. The city does not inspect on our property.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Rogie.
Curious in how, as Mrs. White said, they look like us. So are they badged by their company, or are they badged by us?
They go through our fingerprinting process. So they are fingerprint cleared, and they do carry district badges that say contractor on them.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rogie. Just a follow-up to Mrs. Prusso's question. There was about the city inspectors. Didn't refresh me. Did we have a discussion about the city plan review or something with the like police, fire, looking at plans on the projects?
Yes, absolutely. Great memory, President Bueno. Part of the state architect's approval process is our local fire marshal reviewing and approving for fire department access and fire hydrant or fire service placement. So at the plan review stage, our local fire marshal reviews our plans for those aspects. The construction inspection portions are then delegated to the project inspector.
Okay. So there's going to be fire protection, let's say, as part of these projects.
Yes, yes.
And
All
usually when you
buildings
do
will be
the
fire
underground and they run the test, wouldn't that be local?
They delegate it to the project inspector.
Okay.
Sometimes we do both. Sometimes we'll have a city public works inspector. Sometimes we'll have one of the fire inspectors participate. In other districts, I've had the water company participate in the inspection process of the underground fire main. So there's various ways that we can do that. Here, thus far, it's been delegated to the project inspectors.
Okay. It's just in that regard, having just a little bit of history on that.
Sure.
I would urge the district to work in cooperation with the local, authorities, in that the Department of the State Architect and the State Fire Marshal, their codes aren't necessarily relevant within each local jurisdiction because they don't take into consideration the limitations operationally of each local jurisdiction. And so turning radiuses, things like that's part of your plan review. But in terms of access, how wide these rigs are versus theirs, just coordinating, it might be a small hindrance, but I've seen it pay benefits down the road, because sometimes what you end up with is a project that's finished and it doesn't work for your first responders that are local.
Right, yeah, right.
One thing you said earlier, and it kind of raises a red flag for me, is that when you start talking about a diminished market, like of availability and high demand and people asking their own price, I start thinking about ethics. And considering that there's less than 10 people in a pool of 685, we're down to 1.5% of the available pool statewide. And so what I would ask is, are there oversights in place that oversee this person that we're going to contract with? What oversight do we have over that person on an ongoing basis over 2 years? Because this is all critical, time sensitive, there's a lot of money. So what is our oversight?
For me, I like to use the term inspect the inspector because I am one. And so I'll monitor, or our project managers or construction managers will monitor what that inspector is doing. And we know whether a project inspector is being successful by how the project is progressing. One of the first things that a contractor will share is your inspector is holding me up. And so that's a flag. That's a way to monitor, if you will. Monitoring cost is another aspect. Some inspectors work on an hourly basis with a minimum charge that they'll work for an hour and a half on 6 or 7 different projects a day and charge 12 or 14 hours for 8 hours work or 7 hours work. And that's something that we monitor as well, where we're not going to allow that to happen. Again, that's one of our best practices. We're hiring him for full-time work on a very large project, and we're going to look to utilize his downtime on our own other projects rather than him going and working in another district, if that makes sense. And so is the unit rate for a project inspector going up? Yes. So is the unit rates for architectural services, for many of the services that are in our industry right now, because so many of them are impacted. We try to work with those vendors, if you will, who are giving us reasonable rates. While this cost seems high, it's a reasonable rate. There are those out there who are charging districts $20,000, $22,000, $24,000 a month for inspection services, and this contract is for the duration of the 2 years at $18,000 a month. And so we believe that this is a reasonable rate for the size, for the speed, for the volume of this project. And we'll monitor him all through. To add on, he is the inspector who was here with us throughout all last summer. And so he worked on 3 different projects during the course of his summer here last year as well. And so we've already realized the economy of scale for this particular inspector that we're looking to bring on board.
Okay. It doesn't sound like there's oversight. It just sounds like with your expertise, you'll be able to kind of keep an eye on things.
With my expertise, and then so the specific oversight for his duties is every project inspector reports to a division of the state architect, regional structural engineer who visits the project no less frequent than once a month. There's a very long list of files and criteria and reports, daily reports, every 2-week reports, certifications, test reports that our project inspectors are required to upload to a real-time electronic filing system for this project that illustrates the approvals for the project construction as they occur, and that project inspector is the administrator of that. It's called the project inspection card. It's a process whereby he's required to upload all of that data, and so that DSA field engineer is the title, visits with the project inspector, checks his files, walks the project with him, and then also at every visit fills out a review form of the inspector's performance. So while they work for us, they are oversight by DSA, so to speak. So there's a very rigorous process by which the project inspector needs to maintain the project records in order to maintain his approval and certification process.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other question? I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the award of the contract for project inspection services for the next, is it 2 years at Mitchell? Thank you.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mrs. White to support superintendent's recommendation, and it's been seconded by Mr. Rogie. Any discussion on the motion? Mr. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Yes, myself. Aye. Mrs. Pruso.
Aye.
Mrs. White. Aye. President Bueno.
Aye. And that motion carries 4-0 in the absence of Mr. Wenzel. Thank you very much.
For our next item, I will ask Ms. Susan Kinder, our Assistant Superintendent, to present to you the second interim report. And this is for detailed information as well as board approval.
Good evening, President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers. So tonight we bring the second interim report for your consideration. The California Department of Education requires us to submit 2 interim financial reports. One, the first interim report, which is as of October 31st, that we presented it to you in December. And then the second one is as of January 31st, which we are bringing to you tonight. So at second interim, our beginning fund balance remains $13,719,726. We are projecting revenues of $154,235,887. Projected expenditures of $163,188,847. We have a transfer in of $611,306, which gives us an ending fund balance of $5,378,072. So if we compare that to the first interim, it is a change of $130,383. And what caused that change is we did have to adjust or we recalculate our revenue based on our more current ADA projection. And then so the red in the revenues is not good, but then the red in the expenses is a positive. So we're able to reduce some expenses of about $66,747, and we're charging additional indirect costs to restricted programs of a little over $49,000. So that's how we get to that difference. The other major component of the second interim is the multi-year projection. And now we have the governor's January proposal. So we're using new assumptions for our expenses. So our CalSTRS rates have been reduced, and the cost of living adjustment, or COLA, has been increased. We are assuming that 1920 and 2021 ADA will be approximately $13,300. We are using current contract language, and we have removed all one-time revenues that were in the current year. So and so here are the new rates for the CalSTRS. So 17.1 and 18.1 are the new rates for 1920 and 2021 for STRS. So once we look at the multi-year projection, what we focus on is usually the increase or decrease to fund balance. And as you can see, in the outer years, we are looking
pretty good. We are positive 1.1 or 1,179,767 in 1920 and 3,268,761 in 2021. So the negative 8 million in the current year, a majority, over 7.2 million is, or about 7.2 million is from prior year, our designated balance and restricted balance from the prior year. And so that's what causes that negative amount. We do project a 3% reserve in all 3 years. And then you'll see an assigned balance down there, and that is what we set aside for our competitive compensation negotiations. So what's next is we will begin our 1920 budget process, and then we are looking forward to the governor's May revise. We'll be cautiously optimistic with that. And then you will have a public hearing for both the budget and the local control accountability plan at the first meeting in June. And that concludes my report. The superintendent's recommendation is that you assign a positive certification. And that basically means that the district will be able to meet its financial obligations for the current fiscal year and the subsequent 2 fiscal years.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Mr. Rogie.
On the reserves of 3%, how long will that operate the district if we're into the reserves?
Well, if we were at total negative or like we had no money, it's about 2 weeks of payroll. We would have to be in pretty dire situation to have to use that for payroll.
In 2019-20, it's less than it was the previous year, and then slightly rises in the next year. And I understand why the 3%. Could we absorb a 0.5 to 1% increase in our reserve?
The board could decide to increase the reserves if that was your pleasure.
Well, I'm asking, can we absorb that? I know that's our pleasure, but.
Well, if you were to increase those reserves, then your remaining balance would obviously be reduced.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Rogie. Mrs. White.
When we hear from the community that we're deficit spending, one of the line items you have here is transferred in from where?
So the 11,000 of that is for retiree trust transfer. So we have employees and other funds where they have to pay towards the retiree trust. That's a minor amount. But the 600,000 was a one-time transfer in from the sale of property for textbook adoption.
So.
And so it's a one-time
But
thing.
somehow it's not facilities money.
We had received
Mind us all.
We submitted a letter to the state to ask for flexibility to use our sale of property money towards the general fund expense.
This is for sale of property, but redesignated for curriculum needs.
Correct.
Textbooks, that is. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White.
And the definition of deficit spending is spending more in a year than you bring in that particular year, but doesn't mean that you're spending more money than you have. It means, in fact, it's often what people do. If you save up money for 3 years and then you buy a car, then that year you might spend more than you got that year, but you have had it in reserve, earmarked, and pre-allocated. So that's why it's intentional, if you will, deficit spending, because you are intentionally reserving and preserving money to make a large purchase up ahead. So that's how it works. But then it's a term that's just thrown around as saying deficit, but it doesn't mean you're spending money you don't have. It just means you're spending money that year that didn't come in that year, because we go by fiscal year, yet we are in a school year.
Correct.
Oh, and on the multi-year projection page, we're 8 million in the red.
But again, if you look above, you'll see that there was a designated balance. That's kind of like the savings account that she was just mentioning.
I understand.
Yeah, because having your annual income match your expenditures is almost impossible, because your spending is going to vary year by year based on you adopt books or something, if you have a large single expenditure in a given year. Yeah, I get it. Okay. Just to clarify, the STRS rates went down from previous projections?
Correct. So the governor has proposed to apply some one-time funds from outside of Prop 98 towards the STRS liability. And what that is proposing to do is to buy down the rate that districts have to contribute.
And that was with surplus state funds because the budget had a surplus?
I believe that's what it's from, but I know that's outside of Prop 98, so it doesn't diminish what our portion of the budget is.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
It's just that it's good to see because I know there's a lot of discussion ongoing about pension costs and the STRS and the PERS rates. And it's not to forget that those rates are high because we had a crash and the principal was largely lost on Wall Street and through investments. And so now districts and cities are trying to catch those things up. So it's good that the governor sees that and contributed surplus state funding. And I just hope that that ideology continues when we're going to them and we're asking them for full and fair funding, that we use the buying power of this state with the fifth largest economy in the world to help increase the spending that we put towards education so we can bring us up from below 40th and get us up somewhere in the top 5, because then it deals with some of these issues.
Yes.
You guys have done an excellent job of balancing a budget that's diminished, uncertain. The portion is smaller than it was 30 years ago that we get of the state budget. So you guys have done an excellent job. I know that the ratings when we bring in the auditors are always excellent or A+, and sometimes they give you those kind of nondescript terms like satisfactory or something, but you've done an excellent job and great job presenting it. I can actually see it with my old eyes today. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Excuse me?
We have a motion on the
No, I would entertain a motion.
I would move that we approve the second interim financial report certifying, do we have to say what it's certifying or just?
Positive certification.
Positive certification.
Second.
We have a motion to support the superintendent's recommendation for positive certification, and it's been seconded by it's been made by Mrs. White, and it's been seconded by Mrs. Prusso. Is there any discussion on the motion? Ms. Clerk, if you call the roll, please.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Mrs. Prusso?
Aye.
President Bueno?
Aye. That motion carries 4-0 in the absence of Mr. Wenzel.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the consent calendar 11.2 through 11.12.
A second.
Any discussion on the motion? Go ahead and call the roll, please.
Yes, myself, aye. Mrs. White? Aye. Mrs. Prusso?
Aye.
President Bueno?
Aye. That motion carries 4-0 as all, also with absence of Mr. Wenzel. Moving to our consent resos, I think there's 3. We have 3. Any desire to pull any of those?
I would like to pull 12.3 for discussion.
All right. All right, so we're going to pull 4-3. And entertain a motion on the balance, 12.2 and 12.4.
I'll move that we approve 12.2, Resolution 43, 1819, and 12.4, 45, 1819.
I'll second that. Any discussion on the motion? Mr. Clerk, call that, please.
Myself, aye. Mrs. White?
Aye.
Mrs. Prusso?
Aye.
President Bueno?
Aye. That motion carries 4-0. Okay, 12.3 had issues on 12.3, Mr. Rogi?
Yes, I do. Well, more clarification and maybe some issues. Could I get an explanation of an increment 1 notice of completion? What's that mean?
So I'll ask our bond program director, Mr. Tim Bozanowski, to come forward. He would probably be able to answer that most precisely.
Thank you, Dr. Bowers. Thank you for the question, Mr. Rogi. Increment 1, you'll recall the project was split into 2 increments for the stadium renovations. Increment 1 was the site preparation portion, the grading, the paving, the track work, and sidewalks and the like. And then increment 2 was the bleachers and press box assembly itself. The notice of completion is simply a process by which we declare the construction all but done. We filed a notice of completion, which begins a time clock, if you will, for those vendors, subcontractors, employees who may have not been fully paid on the project to file notice with us that they have not been fully paid on the project. It's a legal piece that just starts that time clock of 30 days. Now, once the county records the notice of completion, there's a clock of 30 days to which they have to notify us or file a claim, if you will, before we can release any retention to the contractor who did the work. Now, that 30 days does not necessarily automatically mean we're going to release retention if we have items of concern or warranty items or things like that, or discrepancies in the construction with the contractor. It's predominantly, like I say, for that time clock, for those on the project who have not been fully paid by the contractor to notify us as the owner that they have not been paid.
Great, thank you. I'm glad you clarified that. I didn't realize there was a split between the actual physical stadium work of bleachers and press box and such, and the prep work. Mr. Wenzel and I walked both stadiums at Granada and Livermore and found some issues, but did have some questions. So maybe in the future for increment 2, you can answer about any warranty work, either through labor or through the physical entities that are at both sites. So that's a discussion we can have later, but you've answered my questions and I appreciate it. Thank you. And on that note, I'd like to move that we approve Resolution 44-1819.
Aye, second.
You have a motion by Mr. Rogie to approve Resolution 044-1819. Been seconded by Mrs. White. Any discussion on the motion? Call the vote, please.
Myself, aye. Mrs. Prusso?
Aye.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
President Bueno?
Aye. All right, we're going to move into our board member reports, and we'll start with Mrs. Prusso.
Thank you. I think the last few weeks were busy for all of us, but especially, I feel like, for me. I was able to attend the kindergarten fair and was impressed with Scott Vernoy's attention to the many, many parents in line with their little ones. So shout out to him and his team. And also, it was great to see all of the elementary principals and the kinder teachers there to greet the kids. And went straight from there to the Granada groundbreaking, where we were almost rained out again. But big thanks to the people of Livermore for supporting Major J and the new construction that's going on there. And I was able to attend 2 events at Junction the last couple weeks. The first was the Kid Connection Open House, and then the second was the Science Odyssey. And I was impressed with the Kid Connection program and the help that it lends to our kids with social and emotional needs. And I'm also impressed, and I wanted to shout out to local Boy Scout Dylan Cohn, who built puppet theaters for all the Kid Connection classrooms for his Eagle project. And then also the Science Odyssey, of course, was very impressive, and it was exciting to see the trash and show and all the projects and eat dinner with our district and community. And I'm very impressed with the brilliant minds of our students, as well as the support and enthusiasm of our science teachers. And I was also able to visit Smith Elementary and Del Val High School this week and get to know both their principals, and I look forward to continuing to work with each of these schools. And then last but not least, it was wonderful to attend Altamont Creek's Day of Reading, and many of you were there, and meet retired Warriors player Admiral Foyle. I am not really a sports fan, so it wasn't it took me a minute to figure out how exciting that really actually was. But also he read his book, Too Tall Foil, and he is an amazing writer. So I will give him that, even though I don't follow him in sports. Also, shout out to the Wildcats at Altamont
Classroom before that, but I read one of my favorite books. It's called The Book of Hugs, and the students enjoyed it. I also read at Croce on, what was it, Read Across America Day. I was also able to go to the 2 plays, one at Livermore High and one at Granada. The Livermore High play was a symphony of everybody being on target. I mean, they didn't miss a cue. there must have been 15 people on the stage at certain times, but they all chimed in at the right time. Entering, exit, fake falls, the whole thing. And the theme was that the play was about the Grimm fairy tales, all of them together on one stage for 2 hours. So they intermeshed this one with that one, and it was quite interesting. On the other hand, the play at Granada was powerful. Its name was All Out. How all out are you willing to go to accomplish something? And it was masterfully done. And the characters found the limits to their desires for good, for what they wanted. They were not willing to, at certain points, undertake certain activities which would have gotten them reward, but were those activities good? You know, do the ends justify the means? And they did it right there on stage. It's amazing. I was at the Science Odyssey, and more I realize the scientific method that the researchers are doing, the student researchers, always includes the piece of how I would do it better. And to me, that's one of the prime lessons of science and of writing something like that. Because even if your hypothesis was proved true, you can extend your hypothesis and come up with a new scheme the next time you do a science project. And that's a terribly valuable lesson to learn for young people. I think I'll let the coaches talk about the wrestling successes, but I was also able to go to the parent night at Granada High School a week ago talking about vaping. Bob Werner from the city council was also there. And, you know, we passed a resolution at the last meeting asking the city council to help us restrict some of the tobacco use by our students. And he outlined the process. There were about 30 or 40 parents in the room. And the process is different from our process for the city council to institute tobacco retail licenses. The question is on the city council meeting for Monday. They will throw the question out, should we have tobacco retail licenses? What parameters shall we put around it? How far can such retailers be from schools? How far must they be from schools? And how many of the 15,000 flavors of vaping chemicals will be allowed to be sold in Livermore? So his request was, would you please, if you're interested in this topic, review the city council agenda, which is on the web, so that you'll know what the choices are, and then weigh in with the choices, because the process is the city council, after the hearing from the community, the city council directs the city attorney to create an ordinance which will accomplish what the city council wants to do. But the council needs to hear from you about what restrictions they would want to put on the tobacco retail licensing scheme. So you've got your homework if you're interested in vaping. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White. Mr. Rogie?
I'm sorry I didn't make it to the Science Odyssey. I would like to have gone, got some other things that were going on. I'm assuming nobody figured out how to convert metals to gold. No, I guess not. I attended the kindergarten fair. It was very well attended. I must have gotten there just right at the start because the line was out the door, like we had only certain slots open. It was pretty amazing. Everybody was well received. The flow was excellent. Kudos to Mr. Bernoy on getting everything situated, and everybody else, IT, everything seems to be running great. Everybody was in good humor. I also attended the Livermore High Expo, which was also very good, very well attended. A lot of parents came up and talked to me about all the classes that were being offered. A lot of teachers were in good spirits about the attendance for that, and ROP was also very well represented. Looked pretty darn good. I'd go back to high school there. And
Thanks for clarifying.
thank you. I also attended the groundbreaking at Granada. Again, you're right. The rain there is just making everything, like in sports, is making everything messy, and it's probably delaying our projects, if I'm not mistaken. Is that true? And is the rain delaying projects? They are. Okay. And then also, like the rain has also delayed our track season at Livermore, so we tend to don't do a lot outside because of the rain, and that's my report, and I'm standing by it.
Thank you, Mr. Rogie. Yeah, I like many of our trustees, went to a couple of the schools and I read something about a fish that calls himself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or something, and the kids get a kick out of it. And in my old profession, I used to be able to go out to the schools, and I don't know anyone who wouldn't miss that. If you used to do it, you don't get to do it anymore, so I do miss that. It's kind of cool. And the kids are just, I just think kids today are better than they were when I was a kid. They're just behaved, and they listen, and they're attentive, and they like to read. So I'd ask everyone who has kids around them, read the kids, makes them smarter. I had a little sneak preview of Science Odyssey. I watched them over there. They were setting up, so one of my younger sons who lives here in town now, we snuck in and just kind of went in through a back door, and we kind of watched them setting up the stuff. And it's just cool to watch the parents and their stage and everything, and all the kids are all excited about their projects, and you just kind of go by and you just kind of be a little incognito and just kind of ask them a little question, and they're super well informed, and it's just, you can just kind of see the excitement, and the excitement's not even arrived yet, but it's in them, so that's really cool. I went by, there was a kind of like a little theme over at Junction. I went there a couple times, and a lot of things going on. You had the Science Odyssey, and they opened up a kid connection, so that was kind of nice to go in there and they show off their stuff, and that's just real important. If anyone's not aware of those, that's just a really, to me, a really important component. I mean, it's hard to compare because, we ate paste and slept on little woven mats when we were kids, and it's a completely different world. These kids, some of them have social emotional needs, or maybe they're just having a hard time connecting, they're new to the school. And that's just really cool. These people are just extraordinarily talented that are overseeing it, and they've got everything just wired in. And it's kind of fun to watch, and you watch kids kind of walk in, and then they're kind of timid, and then they walk out of there, and they just kind of feel, and you can just kind of see the connection forming. So that's really good. Went over, as Mr. Rogie did, several of us went over. Just wanted to thank the athletic director for getting the group out there, and especially Kathy Tennyson. She does the dance team over at Granada High School, and she had, I don't know, maybe a dozen and a half of the girls who participate in dance, all uniformed up, and the kids are real excited over there for that project, and that's all community support. So thanks to the community. That's a huge, enormous project that's ongoing over there. And then we had a chance to stop by our assembly member's office, Rebecca Bauer-Kahn, and just kind of give her the message, just working with her on some of the funding. And I think it's going to be, we're working here in our county collaboratively with Contra Costa County, and this is a message going to come from the state, statewide, and a lot of people working on it. And it's just kind of defining the message of what full and fair funding is. I think we're going to be really fortunate to have this assembly member representing us. She really gets education. She's got a great political history in terms of her ideology, and she agreed with the message, and I think that she has the background to substantiate. I think she was formerly, or currently, but she's in the member's spot now, but she was an environmental attorney. She's very, very smart. She has a good staff with her, and I look forward to working with her to get our schools funded properly, because all these good things we're doing, you cannot do. We're struggling every single day to keep everything balanced, and our kids are benefiting from it. So, I mean, I know that it's going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's just when, but putting that effort together to get the funding. And I just think that it's going to be it's going to be an exponential increase in the outcome for these kids when the funding is there. So that's all I have. We're going to go to the superintendent's report.
So thank you, Mr. President. Many of you touched on some of the same events, but I'll briefly recap. The TK Kinder Fair was incredible. Close to 1,000 students for the graduating class of, I think it'll be 2031. So pretty amazing. The Livermore High School Expo was absolutely exciting and is a showcase of all things Livermore. And what I really enjoyed was the increasing role of students in the presentations and in the active sharing of what's exciting about their school. And of course, all the staff was there, but it's just really neat to see the students so involved. We also had principal for a day, and we welcomed many civic and community leaders, and we were treated to lunch by our own Del Val award-winning Culinary Academy, as well as the floral decorations were brought to us by Livermore High School's Ag and Floriculture Department. These are, the theme was our connected community, and we had amazing civic leaders here, and they all now want to increase partnerships and do even more for our students. So we're very, very fortunate to have such an involved community. We did hear earlier about Livermore High School being a 2019 California Distinguished School. We also have officially heard that Altamont Creek is the 2019 California Green Ribbon School. And we have never won this award. It's a fairly new award anyway, but we're very excited about that as well. And we did, almost all of us read for Read Across America at either Croce and or Altamont, as well as I did. But I just did want to say, Mr. Trustee Wenzel is not here at the moment, but we want to thank him. I don't know if people realize he coordinated the assembly and generously donated from his own pocket 75 books from O'Donnell Foyle's collection. The entire school attended the special read aloud. Each teacher randomly selected 2 students to receive the book. 4 books were gifted to the school library. So that was very, very nice. This is the 3rd school where he's arranged that. The first it was Maryland, and then it was Jackson, and now Altamont Creek. The Science Odyssey was definitely a big hit, and our Science Odyssey students and their award winners will be coming to a future board meeting, so stay tuned. Tomorrow morning, as was mentioned by our LEA president, is the East Bay Coalition of Public Educators breakfast meeting hosted by Karen Monroe, our superintendent of Alameda County. So hopefully good news will come from that. And then coming up this week, reading aloud at Maryland Avenue. If you haven't been invited, it's not too late to join us. I think it's Thursday, possibly Friday. Be reading aloud there. March 11th is the city council meeting that Trustee White mentioned. March 13th, drum roll, is a very exciting day. It's district-wide Kudos for Custodians Day. We found out from our workplace dynamics surveys a few years ago that some of our custodians were, especially our evening folks that were doing a lot of work to keep our schools clean and safe, didn't feel quite as much love and appreciation as they had hoped for in comparison to other more high profile positions sometimes in our community. So now we celebrate them. They get their whole day and we clean up for them and we make it special. So that's March 13th, district-wide Kudos for Custodians. And then of course, coming up March 13th to 20th, we'll be having our sister city visitors from LISCO, which is our Japanese visitors from middle school. We have STEAM Divas coming on March 23rd to Junction. March 16th is Grant and Aid event at Shiva Vishnu Temple. They give tons of money to our schools. And then on our other community groups that support our schools, we have Granada High School Black and Gold Social that day and the Sunset Gala, as well as the Granada High Music Fiesta. So there's something happening. March 16th is just a whirlwind of a day. You could go to something pretty much every minute. I'm going to try my best and see how I do. And with that, I think that concludes my presentation. Have a wonderful evening.
With no further business, 2119.